Sorry, Mr. Ladybug. You're fully dead, Salisbury. There's so many wires. Right. The person in front of me is smoking and it stinks. Absolutely humdings. I know this is going to piss a lot of people off, but I am really surprised they haven't banned smoking while you're driving. I understand why they've banned being on the phone, because it's not that you or I won't be able to deal with being on the phone while you're driving, but it's that 5% of absolute morons that aren't able to concentrate or operate a vehicle whilst being on the phone. Those are the ones that ruin it for the rest of us. If you drop your phone in the car, like when you're holding it, and you drop it goes on the floor and you go, oh bollocks, I've dropped my phone, I'll get it when I can. You drop a cigarette on your lap, like a lit cigarette, you are not, the last thing you are thinking about is what's going in front of you. You are thinking about how much that is burning your leg. And I mean, I know you can focus a bit more while you're I'm doing all this, and everyone's probably just thinking I'm calling them wankers. For most people, like, smoking a cigarette is like second nature. You don't need to worry, like, you don't need to think about it. But it's not, for me, it's not that. It's the fact that if you drop it, you are, well, it's an ignition source, and it's also causing a hell of a lot more stress than if you dropped your phone. I mean, I'm saying this because I don't smoke, but I am surprised. Anyway, massively digressed. What I'm going through today is, and I want to be quite clear on this, this is how I clutchless shift. I'm not telling you how to do it, because if I say I'm doing that, I'll get some 17-year-old dad message me like, why have you told my son how to do this? Now he's broken his bike. So I'm not, this is me not telling you how to clutchless shift, if that makes sense. So where it started was, obviously I wanted, f***ing Senna! Hate Senna so much. Gonna get rid of this as soon as I can afford to get pack torque. So I started off by wanting a quickshifter for my bike, but just, you look online, and although you can get them aftermarket, they are quite expensive for what they are, kind of thing. Now, I know theoretically all it's doing is cutting the ignition, because you can't get, well, I know you can, but getting a quickshifter that works both ways, like up and down shifter, is quite uncommon, because I think if your bike's not designed to have a blipper, it can cause quite a lot of damage. But for me, why would I want to spend £300 or £400 on an aftermarket system when I can get 95% of the result for free just by working on a technique? So I didn't really think this was a thing. I think, I wasn't aware it was a thing for a start, until, I can't remember who the video was by. I don't know, I think it was Spicy 110 or someone like that did a video on it, and I watched that, and then I was like, oh, I didn't realise you could do that. Why is this guy going so slow? Wham tractor! Oh, he's got a dope exhaust, bro. Essentially, I mean, I know there's more to it than this, but what a quickshifter is doing is, on the way up, is unloading the gearbox, so the gear will slip into the next one. Now, I still use the clutch for most of the work, but it's just that every now and again you can do it without, and it's quite satisfying, if nothing else. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I think Kia Picanto is Korean for drive slowly. To shift up on a clutchless shift, all you are doing, throttle hand wise, is you are rolling off and then engaging again. So it's just a bit of that. And you can see, I mean, I don't know if you can see, but me, by doing that, I'm just dropping off the revs and then coming back on them. Now with your left foot, if you put your foot underneath the lever and you apply gentle upward pressure, as if, I'm not talking, don't go too gentle, because if you are too gentle it will not change gear and you'll end up being halfway between gears and you'll grind, and that's when you start messing your gearbox up. And you are just pulling up ready to change gear, and then what you should find is as soon as you let off the throttle it just pops into the next gear. That's it. So if I do it now, and like I'm barely touching the lever, it's like the same amount of pressure that you would apply if you were going to use the clutch, and it slips into gear. That's basically it. And then all you're doing is, as you're going up the box, you just find you go dip, 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 and that like shoots you up a couple of gears. I highly advise going down the box without the clutch. However, the technique is essentially exactly the opposite. So the reason I advise against it is to get a smooth shift going down the box, you need to rev match, which is essentially finding the revs where the revs would be doing your speed in another gear. So if I'm fifth here doing 45 mile an hour and I'm in third doing 3,500 revs. Now if I go down I'm doing just over 4,000 revs in fourth, same speed. Third, just over 5,000 revs. So what you're doing here, let me go up the box again. So to go down the box, it works better if you're higher up the rev range anyway, and then you are blipping the throttle. So instead of shutting off, you are opening the throttle, and so I go from completely off and then I rev, or you blip, which is where the name blipper comes from. So you're coming down, you're rev matching with your throttle, you got your foot on top of the lever, the gear lever, and you are applying gentle pressure, and it drops into gear. Now going down the box you need to be a lot more careful. Like I said, it's not, because it will try, as soon as you try and change, as soon as you start revving a bit more, it will try and change. So you need to make sure your throttle input is quick. If you can master it and you get good at it, and then it's not, you don't use it all the time. I tend to always do it when my engine's warm, and so all the fluids are warm. And I've been out riding for quite a while today, so for me to use clutchless shifting now is not really a problem. It doesn't make any difference. And then I also alternate between using it and not using it. If I'm in the town, I just use the clutch because it's easier. So most people don't use a quick shifter all the time. Like, I think they work best when you are opening it up and you're sort of going for the overtake and whatnot. It's the same concept with this. I think it works better when you're going quite quick, or when you're sort of accelerating quite hard. And the same thing on the downshifting, when it works best if you've been going quite quick and you're coming up to a corner and you just use the auto blipper that way. It works smoother. There's genuinely been times where using the downshift, like clutchless downshift, has been smoother than using the clutch. It just saves a bit of time, but also I find it settles me a bit more. So if I'm changing gear, coming up to a corner, the disengaging and then re-engaging of the clutch tends to unsettle me more than it does if I just clutch a shift. I'm not gonna pretend it's as smooth as the factory one, because it all depends on your ability to time it right. If you're doing this for the sake of just rushing, and I have done it before where I haven't really been paying attention, I've rushed it and it's jumped into halfway between the gears and you just end up crunching, and I've done it once or twice and it's awful noise. And also if you carry on doing that, you're just going to grind the gears away in your gearbox and then be left with a bill for thousands of pounds. and that's not worth it. So I'm going to nip past this car in a second when we get around the corner, and you'll see what I mean with there's a distinct lack of the, when you use your clutch to change gear and you do something like that, there's such a bigger disturbance in the way the bike handles. Now, see there, as I pulled in, the bike dipped a bit more, and it took I mean, maybe not longer, but I felt less settled when I was going around that. If you've stumbled across this video and you've decided to give it a go, I am not liable for anyone's gearboxes or anything that goes wrong with their bike because of this. If you do try it, practice it properly first, and coming up the box, make sure you're going fast enough, you've got enough. So I try on a national restriction road where you're going from 40 to say 50, 60 mile an hour, and you are going from third gear to fourth gear. That is quite a safe way of doing it. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you don't mess your bike up, and if this has been useful to you, I'm glad. But again, not a guide. Not a guide. Speak to you next time.